Ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to be breaking down all of the methods to make grown men cry when facing your Alliance War defense, the best Alliance War defenders of 2019. Now, in order to assist us with this mammoth task today, we've got another spreadsheet, lads. I know how much everybody on this channel loves a good spreadsheet, but yeah, we've got this one which we've updated, I believe, a couple of times now, and the last time was in December. I've kind of added what I believe to be are the top kind of 4 bosses at the moment, which are kind of all new champions. So I've still got kind of the Alliance War boss suggestions tab, and you know, depending on your tier as well, and this is kind of a big disclaimer with this one, like if you're fairly like early to mid game, let's say like bottom 50%, a lot of these champions are going to be considerably more threatening. But the higher and higher you move up in terms of the tiers, the more people have, like, you know, a maxed out like Corvus or Ghost, or are very used to dealing with all sorts of problematic champions that are kind of a big issue in the early game, but then in the later game become quite straightforward for a lot of players to deal with. So yeah, some of these champions, as you get kind of later in the game, will become less and less valuable, but we're going to talk about some node combinations and you know, tips and tricks to kind of get the most out of every single defender there. Now, to provide a bit of an overview of the tiers and the way that this one is structured, so we have 4 different tiers in the Alliance War boss suggestions category as well. So the first one is annoying tier, and these are characters that maybe have 1 or 2 things. They're a little bit annoying to deal with, and if you're not aware of what they do and how to play around them, they can potentially get kills, but when it comes to, you know, deeper and deeper in the game, they're probably not going to do too much. But if you need, you know, an extended list of champions that have 1 or 2 things that are annoying, this is the list of those characters that might be able to get a kill there. Ass pain is probably a bit of a step up from the annoying tier in terms of just the amount of pain in your ass that these champions can be on the right node. So yeah, a lot of these characters just have some very dodgy node combinations that can, in the right scenario, even at higher tiers, just really be a big pain in the ass to deal with. And then we have the douchebag tier, which is an even further step up from the ass pain tier of characters that on the right nodes you're going to need like a certain way or a certain counter, or just be very savvy at fighting them. Douchebag tier champions can often, in a lot of scenarios, if the opponent especially isn't prepared for them, get a kill there. And then we have the proper asshole tier. So these are champions where, you know, especially on the right node and combo, people really need to focus up if they want to get the kill against them, and have to do a little bit of planning and play around certain mechanics there. But again, a lot of the stuff in regards to tier placement is incredibly subjective, depending on, you know, where you are in terms of your Alliance War ranking, and also what node combinations you are pairing these champions with. Because a right node can just make a champion an absolute brick wall for a lot of players, which is very hard to get through. And then finally we have just general kind of Alliance War boss suggestions, but also I've put down the bottom a second section kind of to try and articulate and explain who I believe are the top 4 bosses at the moment. And I think just to cover that to start off with, I suppose, the top one for a lot of people is Korg at the moment. If you've got a 5-star or 6-star awakened Korg, like, Korg is just absolutely insane as Alliance War boss. He's very tricky to fight for a lot of people. There's a very limited number of kind of very effective counters out there for him, and just kind of flat out, like, a lot of people just aren't very good at fighting Korg at the moment. So I've seen certain Korg bosses get like 20 to 30 kills from some alliances. So yeah, some absolutely insane results there. Havoc as well, we're seeing in the top tier a lot of Havoc bosses, just because there aren't many like super high tier offensive champions that are very good at fighting Havoc. Like a lot of the previous like beyond god tier champions, as I would categorize them, a lot of the top meta champions don't have like the best matchup when it comes to Havoc. You know, he's a little bit quirky there, but there are good matchups to Havoc bosses in terms of like Vision, Angela, and also other Havocs as well. But again, very limited amount of people have Havoc at the moment, so it's not the biggest problem in the world, but that is going to be a little bit of a pain in the ass of all the energy damage for some people to deal with. But I don't think Havoc is maybe going to get as many kills as a Korg, but he's still going to do pretty well, man. He's still definitely going to annoy a fair amount of people. Thing as well is an Alliance War boss we've been seeing very often in the last like month and a bit. Very annoying champion to deal with for a lot of people, and it's very easy to kind of slip up and get into kind of a bad spot with his unstoppable unstoppable as well. But there do exist, you know, quite a few good counters to Thing in terms of like Gwenpool, Aegon, some of the two I see most common. Apparently Havoc's very, very good for Thing bosses as well. And finally we got Mr. Sinister, and I think Mr. Sinister is going to be a massive pain in the ass for a lot of people. That regeneration is just going to be very, very annoying when he's on a stacked up final boss and stun immune, and it takes a little bit to get into the fight. So yeah, I think Mr. Sinister is just going to be a real big pain in the ass. But any heal block champion, Void, is going to be quite a good matchup for him. So I think there do exist a fair few counters to Mr. Sinister as a boss. But again, he's going to be quite beefy, man, and you're going to have to play very aggressively with Void in order to not time out there. So I'm interested to see how that one goes. But anyway, let's talk about the other Alliance War boss suggestions as well. So Awakened Domino can be a little bit of a pain in the ass, but also just to kind of also articulate the little key that we have here, I've got Star, which means champion relies on being awakened, and also the light bulb indicates the champion doesn't need to be awakened necessarily, but it has good benefit. And Domino's, you know, one of those perfect characters to describe that, really. Like, she's a pain on the ass even without her awakened ability, but her awakened ability just adds more very fun and interactive damage via the critical failure. So yeah, she is a massive pain for a lot of people to deal with. But once you get used to fighting Domino and doing kind of those like dashback counters, like, she's not too hard, but she can still get a lot of kills in kind of like early to mid-tier Alliance Wars there. Havoc, Mr. Sinister, and Core we've already talked about. Medusa, for certain people, can still be like a massive pain in the ass, but Symbiote Supreme is such an effective counter to Medusa. Also, like, boosted up, you know, Corvus Glaives are incredible for dealing with Medusa. Magics as well, there are a fair few options, and again, kind of similar options when it comes to the champion. Mainly Symbiote Supreme and Magic are two of the best counters I've seen for this lad. But if you've got somebody with like a 5-star, 6-star Symbiote Supreme, or even in some scenarios, man, I've seen kind of maxed out 4-stars just absolutely cut through this dude, because Symbiote Supreme is so powerful in the champion and Medusa matchups. So yeah, that could have a very, very good matchup there. Also, Corvus Glaive, this is mainly for kind of lower tier to mid tier ones where you don't have too many players that are good at intercepting, because Corvus Glaive has guaranteed criticals on his block, which for most champions and most people when they're fighting Corvus Glaive at kind of early to mid tier are blocking a lot, because the final boss is stun immune, and that means Corvus is having a lot of time to deal a lot of critical damage into their block as well. So he actually works out quite well, and also for a lot of people as special one, at the timing to like evade it and go back into Corvus, it's very easy to flub up and then either get intercepted or parried with Corvus. So yeah, he actually surprisingly works decently for lower tier and mid tier alliances as a boss there, but more often than not you see Corvus Glaive on kind of the stun immune counter tactics node, but just something to keep in mind there. Dormammu as well can be a little bit of a pain. There is a lot of degeneration damage. An Awakened Blade and a Gladiator Hulk are both very, very good counters to Dormammu. Also, if you've got a Magic or a Ghost, Magic, you can just keep Dormammu with Special 2 in the corner. So yeah, not too bad there. We also have Iron Man Infinity War. There are now loads of good counters to Iron Man Infinity War as a boss. You've got like Corvus, Ghost, Hyperion, anybody with a really, really strong heavy attack, like even a skilled Stark Enhanced Spider-Man player can take him down. Maybe somebody with a very, very stacked Void that's fully boosted as well. But Iron Man Infinity War, he's not too much of a hassle, and it's kind of at the point in the game where, you know, he's been put in so many challenges, especially in the end game, that most people are aware of how to fight him, and also Proxima Midnight is a really good matchup for Iron Man Infinity War bosses. But yeah, a lot of people are very used to fighting him, so he doesn't kind of have the value that he used to for a lot of people, but kind of, you know, mid-tier, early tier, he can definitely get a few kills there. Then we've got MODOK as well, who's just a massive pain in the ass to deal with. Like Killmonger, Blade are some great options. Also Corvus as well is definitely one of the top options when dealing with this lad, so it can work very, very effectively there. Spider-Man Classic, Venom is probably the best, if not one of the best matchups against Spider-Man Classic in general, just because he can completely ignore all Spider-Man like heroes evade. So I think we're also going to be seeing a lot more value from Venom on offense, especially with Spider-Gwen kind of being stacked up to be a bit more of an annoying defender, because her evade is much more problematic than it used to be, especially with the champion buff as well, because she's immune to True Strike and has evade. So Spider-Gwen from tomorrow onward on stun immune nodes, I think is going to be really annoying, and potentially she might actually be gunning for the Alliance War boss suggestions, but I don't want to put her there prematurely. I want to see how she is, but I know she's going to be much more annoying to fight on defense as well, so it's something to keep in mind there. And then we talked about Thing as well. So then we got the proper asshole tier. Let's just talk about some kind of combinations that make you know, these champions annoying. Domino, primarily with Domino, Power Gain can be a bit more annoying with Domino because it allows her to get more uptime on the evade, but really anything that prolongs the fight, especially if it's an awakened Domino, to have more fun and interactive damage can be really annoying there. Buffet nodes are quite good. You don't really want to go with Masochism because anybody that knows how to fight Domino is kind of fighting her, you know, stun immune style, so you don't need to worry about that too much. Mr. Sinister, Masochism nodes, you want to slap this dude on one of them because a lot of people are using Voids to fight Mr. Sinister at the moment. And I've seen people put Mr. Sinister on a buffet node, whereas that, you know, doesn't really, like, interrupt Void too much, whereas if you put him on a Masochism node, that's going to be eating up Void's debuffs, and kind of gives this increased chance for the opponent to time out against Mr. Sinister, which is really what you want there. And Havoc is a bit of a similar story. You want the fight to go on for as long as possible, so a node that kind of gives him more armor, more survivability, a bit of regeneration boost, like an Arc Overload, would be pretty nice as well. But also when it comes to Havoc, you probably, or maybe in some scenarios around the mid tier, want to potentially look at like an unblockable special 1 node, because that is going to make him very annoying to fight. A lot of people are a little bit rubbish at consistently evading Havoc special 1 because it's a little bit more tricky as well. So that is a bit of a combination there that could make him a bit more of a pain in the ass. And then next up we've got Killmonger. Killmonger is still very annoying for a lot of people to deal with on any node that has cornered, increased power gain. Those two scenarios make Killmonger just a massive pain in the ass to deal with. So node 29 is still very popular for a lot of Killmongers, but anything that increases his power gain, yeah, just makes him massively annoying. And then we've got Korg, just anything that prolongs the fight. You don't want to put Korg on a stun immune node because, you know, the standard style of fighting Korg is kind of baiting out those those special ones and heavy attacks, so don't worry about stun immunity. Just anything that kind of prolongs the fight and drags it out so they take more damage and have a higher chance to kind of fail at Korg's mechanics and get absolutely ruined there. So that's definitely what you're looking for. And then we've got Medusa. Medusa, what's some good node combinations? Really anything that prolongs the fight to a certain extent. Medusa's kind of great to have in all sorts of like awkward ambush places as well. Like Bane Medusa can be a little bit of a pain in the ass to deal with. Medusa on stuff like poison nodes as well can be a little bit of a pain. But yeah, Medusa kind of, you just want to like hide her somewhere in the map so that somebody's not expecting to fight Medusa, and when they have to end up fighting Medusa, it can sometimes be a little bit soul destroying. So yeah, that's always a good place. But she's still quite good on the buffet node in all fairness as well. If you prolong the fight, it's just gonna increase the chance that somebody does slip up there. And then we've got Dormammu, anything that kind of beefs up power gain really and forces the opponent to dash back as quickly as possible so it can start degenerating is definitely what you want there. Mephisto, I like Mephisto on bleed nodes. I think on bleed nodes there are sometimes people struggle for a really kind of good and effective counter on a bleed node for Mephisto, or anything that has power gain as well. There's quite a decent synergy for Iron Man Infinity War. That aggression armor node is still really decent, or anything that requires kind of the fight to be down in a very short bursty time like Flare Iron Man Infinity War. I have seen, you know, over the last 6 months, that combination of stuff like trap a lot of people on that path, so that can be a little bit annoying. But if that person has a Corvus Glaive, then it's going to be a pretty easy time for them. So yeah, just something to keep in mind there. And then we've got MODOK. Really, anything with stun immunity is going to greatly benefit MODOK. Toward the right-hand side, you also have that kind of like power gain path as well, which can make MODOK a little bit of a pain in the ass. Bleed nodes as well. He is generally alright on there, but MODOK, mainly you want to focus on stun immune, because a lot of people do fight MODOK just, you know, parrying and then throwing off a couple of attacks there. And kind of same way at Spider-Man Classic as well. Stun immunity, enhanced special 1, unblockable special 1, and special 1 start can be very, very good combos there. Nightcrawler, what do you want to put Nightcrawler? I mean, Nightcrawler, for a lot of people that have been playing this game, if you know how to switch Nightcrawler, he does become substantially easier, but Bane can sometimes be a little bit of an annoying combination. I've seen people die on Bane Nightcrawler again, and again, MODOK is actually a fairly decent option and can be a massive pain in the ass for certain Bane nodes as well in Alliance War. And then we've got Iceman, enhanced special 1 start, can be a little bit annoying, but you can just really throw Iceman anywhere that you think a Corvus player isn't going to go to try and like trap somebody out there. That's probably the best solution for a lot of people. Sabretooth, if you want anything kind of that enhances regeneration even more, you can also use that for Mr. Sinister as well, but that's kind of the big thing. Enhance the regeneration, just make that damage back as much as it can, so that he is healing for more health than damage he's being dealt. And in certain scenarios, if somebody doesn't come prepared and brings a heal block champion or Void, that can really screw people over. Now, next up we've got Emma Frost, and I've actually put for Emma Frost, doesn't need to be awakened, but it has good benefit. And previously I put champion relies on being awakened. So the thing is with Emma Frost, right, her awakened ability reverses her opponent's controls whenever she activates a special attack. So the majority of the player base are used to fighting Emma Frost when she throws a special and your controls are reversed. So this can actually really screw people over. Sometimes when fighting Emma Frost, if they're used to fighting the awakened one and dashing one way, the opposite way, and then they fight an unawakened one, but the controls are normal and not reversed, that can actually get kills and really screw people over. And I've seen it happen, man. It's really, really impressive. So Emma Frost, yeah, really interesting one, man. Definitely those inverted controls, they kind of work both ways, and especially I would say that the majority of the community were kind of used to fighting her awakened. So if you ambush somebody with an unawakened Emma Frost, it might screw them over a little bit there. So, you know, you've got that going on. But I would say if you are going to have an unawakened Emma Frost, definitely put it on a unexpected ambush node and try and make her, you know, as durable as possible on that node. And then we've got Hyperion. Anything with power gain really can annoy people with Hyperion. Just especially all or nothing nodes, man. Occasionally I've got my rank 5 Hyperion on defense, and sometimes you chuck him on an all or nothing node, and people, you know, just sometimes like get unlucky and can't get the opportunity in to actually control his power before he special 3s and kills them. So yeah, Hyperion, man, just power gain all or nothing. Champion can be good on any nodes that kind of prolong the fight, because you really want to like allow the fight to ramp up a fair bit, so he starts going unstoppable and then becomes a bit of a pain in the ass there. So anything like buffet, masochism, regeneration, more armor, more resistance can make him a very, very annoying one. But then again, like champions like Corvus can burst him down pretty quickly as well, but you know, he also gets his charges a little bit quicker against Corvus. But yeah, sometimes the champion can be a pain, man, if somebody isn't prepared, but kind of does need to be awakened for that unstoppable. And when Morningstar needs to be awakened to get that bleed, you want to hide Morningstar somewhere, and hopefully somebody's not going to bring a bleed immune champion against her, although Morningstar isn't too much of a pain in the ass for most people to deal with. She can be alright for some people as well on those power shield nodes, sometimes a little bit of a pain in the ass there. And then we have Magic. So Magic, definitely early game, is tremendously annoying champion for anybody without Blade, or a strong ability accuracy reduction champion, or Gladiator Hulk. But yeah, Magic, what makes her annoying? Power gain. You just want a ton of power gain on Magic. More limbos, more fun, lads. That is the way to go about it. Sentinel, power gain as well. Very, very important there. Just for, you know, the more power Sentinel gains, the more he's going to push the opponent constantly back with his special attacks and allow him to get more intervals to actually obtain analysis there. But you also want to have your Sentinel on an ambush node where the opponent can't see them, so that it kind of catches them out by a little bit of surprise, and hopefully they haven't brought Medusa, and sometimes you can get some pretty nice kills on there with Sentinel. And then we've got Darkhawk as well. So Darkhawk, I don't think is as much of a pain in the ass as I thought he would be on Alliance War defense, because a lot of people just fight Darkhawk and don't use any of their special attacks. But I think the way to make Darkhawk a little bit more annoying is just kind of put him on a power gain node or an unstunnable node, and that's going to make him a little bit more annoying. But I think there are just ways to kind of play around Darkhawk in the majority of scenarios by not throwing special attacks and not knocking him down with heavy attacks as well. But in certain scenarios, if people aren't kind of aware of Darkhawk's mechanics and how to play around him, he can be a real bitch to fight. So he's got that going on for him as well. And then we have Spider-Man, Miles Morales. Just any node that has stun immunity is going to make him a little bit more annoying as well. Bane, just, you know, scenarios that punish you for not being able to connect quick enough. And then we've got Void. Void can be a little bit of a pain on certain scenarios, especially like nodes that kind of drag the fight on a little bit more if the opponent hasn't brought something like a Blade to deal with Void. You know, you probably want to hide him in an ambush somewhere. Then we've got Wasp, and Wasp can sometimes be a little bit annoying to fight on power gain nodes, especially if she's pushing somebody back quite quickly. Bane, she can be a little bit of a pain in the ass. You probably just want to stick to something unstunnable though, and hopefully like somebody doesn't know how to fight Wasp. But if you know how to fight Wasp, she is fairly straightforward for the most part. And then we have Gladiator Hulk, and he's kind of one of those champions again. If you know how to fight him, he's not going to be too much of a problem, but if you don't, he can really, really screw people over if they're not aware of how to kind of manage the crowd excitement and his unstoppable attacks as well. So yeah, anything that kind of beats Gladiator Hulk up, a lot of the time he can actually make for a very, very good mini-boss. Kind of same with Wasp to a certain extent in some scenarios, but yeah, G-Hulk can, I've seen him catch, you know, a fair few people out as a mini-boss there, so he's not too bad. And then finally, after Spider-Gwen's buff, she's going to have kind of these evade charges, which give like 5% chance to evade each. So once she's got 6 of them, it's a 30% chance to evade. So I think Spider-Gwen, you really want anything unstunnable, anything that's going to prolong the fight a fair bit. She is going to be able to get these charges relatively easily, but does take a little bit to get into the fight, but she's going to be a bit of a pain in the ass to deal with. But I'm interested to actually see if Spider-Gwen is going to turn out to be a very effective Alliance War boss, because thinking about the way that you fight the new enhanced version of Spider-Gwen, and the fact that her evade is going to get more and more annoying the deeper you get into the fight, might make her a really, really good Alliance War boss. So I'm interested to see how that one turns out. And then just in terms of the you know, the remaining tiers, what do we have here? Cable's got a bit of power gain, regeneration. Bishop, he carries the power over from the previous fight, and his specials are a pain in the ass to dodge. Unblockable special, actually unblockable special 2 doesn't work because he's got that initial kick. But yeah, just anything that gives Bishop power gain makes him a little bit annoying there. A Mega Red shuts down and is just a bit annoying to fight for a lot of bleed characters. So yeah, he can be a bit of a pain, but a good Corvus, a good Ghost will cut through in a Mega Red like butter there. Agent Venom can be a little bit annoying, very good on kinetic reactor nodes though, has a great synergy there. Blade for nodes where you need to debuff, and all or nothing nodes he can actually be quite good. So yeah, Blade has some interesting scenarios because he's annoying to debuff once his power gets up there. Kingpin, for big old chunky nodes like Buffet, he can be alright if you don't have a better champion to throw on them. Heimdall, if you throw a little bit of power gain his way, he can become a little bit more annoying to deal with his auto block. But Heimdall, for a lot of top tier characters and players, is Pretty easy to cut through. Corvus, again, if you want to place Corvus, man, you definitely want stun immune, ideally the counter tactics node. Then we've got Hood. Hood is just a bit annoying. If you push him to the special 2, kind of has that big punishment for people that are unaware how to fight Hood. So yeah, it can be a little bit of a pain in the ass, but he's not too bad for the most part. Unstoppable Colossus and Juggernaut are just 2 very annoying unstoppable champions. And you don't really need stun immunity anymore. Really, power gain just makes them annoying, and kind of similar story with Mordo as well. Power gain nodes for all of those. Ultron for his evade can be good for ambushes. Punisher 2099 can be very annoying on kinetic reactor nodes. Darknut Spider-Man can be a little bit annoying sometimes for his evade. Red Skull on poison and bleed nodes, or really any scenario you want to ideally hide Red Skull, and hopefully somebody doesn't have a counter to him. Power gain as well can be quite good, because if Red Skull keeps on getting his stacks of armor and the opponent doesn't have a way to armor break, then Red Skull takes like no damage and can be really effective. I have seen people get completely screwed over on like poison nodes when it comes to Red Skull, but again, there are counters like Medusa, for example, available, but mainly not a lot of people have a spare Medusa for offense, so hiding Red Skull on poison nodes is probably the most effective placement I've seen for him so far. And then we have Green Goblin. Regeneration nodes, a really good combo there for anybody that might potentially be a little bit unprepared. And then we've got Quake, who can be just a bit of a pain on like stun immune nodes. If you're kind of like forcing her to use the heavy attack, you can get punished with those aftershock charges. Electro, he's just kind of good to hide because he'll take like a decent chunk of health out of a Corvus Glaive or a Ghost, because, you know, of his damage back ability, so can be pretty decent there. Rogue has reduced debuff duration. Black Panther Civil War is great on an armor node. Thor Ragnarok can catch noobs out that don't know how to play around his power gain. Punisher's cheat, death, and special attacks are pretty annoying to deal with. Massacre can deal a lot of block damage. Taskmaster can be very resilient to debuffs, and also special ones a little bit annoying. Moon Knight has the evade at certain times, and his special one's a bit annoying to deal with. Black Widow's evade is a little bit annoying there. Night Thrasher removes all debuffs when he's knocked down, and also his special one, not too many people are super great at fully evading it, but Night Thrasher, he's not too much of a problem, but for certain newer players who are not used to fighting him, can be a little bit annoying there. Then we've got Aegon. Aegon's not the absolute best defender, but on certain nodes where he's getting battered a fair bit, he's going to have a few stacks of Fury, so if somebody messes up, he's going to retaliate quite heavy there, which can be very good in certain scenarios. Earlier, Spider-Man Symbiote has the temporary evade whenever he activates specials, which can be very annoying. King Groot, what do we have here? We've got the Furies consume debuffs on King Groot, so on certain nodes like Buffet, he can be like a bit of a pain in the ass to deal with. Also Masochism, sometimes combined with the eating of Furies as well, can make him a little bit of a pain, but I do think generally speaking there are better options there. Venom has some very kind of big specials, especially the special 2, in the way that Venom constantly kind of comes at the opponent. He's usually naturally quite aggressive, so especially in lower tier and mid tier Alliance Wars, if people aren't very good at evading, then Venom can screw people over really nicely. Symbiote Supreme, you kind of need to get a fair bit into the fight for Symbiote Supreme to be a pain, but against Corvus, he can take a bit of a chunk off at the start, and it's alright, man, if people aren't used to fighting Symbiote Supreme, but there are a lot of champions, and a fair window to get Symbiote Supreme down, so if you want to place him on defense, have him on some sort of chunky ambush somewhere. And then we've got Yondu. Yondu can be alright on enhanced bleed nodes, not too many people, or I would say, especially around the mid-tier of the game, a lot of people often get like bled through the block on Yondu, which can screw certain people over, but again, like Ghost, and if you got Ghost or Corvus, man, like Yondu just isn't much of a problem there at all. Vision OG with his power gain can occasionally screw people over. War Machine on unblockable special 1 can be a bit annoying. Rhino's charge can occasionally screw people over. Abomination on certain unexpected nodes might be able to poison and annoy people there. Yellow Jacket on unblockable special 1. or special one start can sometimes screw people over, especially if he's kind of awakened with the stun to clip as well. And then finally we got Hulk, and Hulk is just kind of like Venom to a certain extent, can really screw people over if somebody fails at evading one of the special attacks, and as you lower his health he becomes more and more of a threat there. So occasionally in early tiers and mid tiers, man, if somebody messes up against Hulk, they are going to get absolutely ruined. Anyway, that brings us to the end of today's video. Let me know in the comments section below who are some of your favorite champions and also node combinations to use on Alliance War defense. I want to see if there's kind of anything we've missed off on today's video or any pro tips that you guys have, because again, I've just dumped an absolute ton of knowledge out there today. So yeah, if there's anything I've missed or anything you want to share, do let me know in the comments below. Again, I'm always looking to kind of learn from like different alliances and setups and strategies, who people are using for Alliance War defense and what has been working well for certain people. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for watching today's video. If you did enjoy it, feel free to smash that like button and share it with your alliance if you would like to. But aside from that, thank you so much for watching. Take care, and I hope that you have an absolutely fantastic day. Ba 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 ba.